Hi there. This is my live looping software that I've been building for quite a while. It's, for me, a more intuitive and musical way to work with loops. And it kinda merges the two contrasts that I've found of musical improvisation. Because on the one hand, you have the looping pedals, which is what I start with, and they are very immediate, very minimal, very simple. You just push the button and you start building things and layering things. And then on the other hand, you have full-fledged DAWs like Ableton, where you have the super fine-grained control. And that was my frustration with the pedals, that once you've recorded it, you cannot go back in there and alter the individual sounds. They're like printed onto it. And then that's what you could do in Ableton, of course. But the issue with that is in Ableton and the like, you kind of lose the impulsivity that I really loved. This immediate feedback and this raw connection to the musical moment. I tried to make Ableton to work in this kind of way, but you always have to define things beforehand, like the BPM. Like, I don't know what BPM I'm gonna play at. Like, that's improvisation. It's just gonna happen some way. But there you have to define the tempo, and you have to at least have some kind of idea of how it's going to progress as a composition. Because at some point you might run out of tracks, you might run out of whatever ways to alter them. And yeah, basically that's why I started this project, out of frustration that I had to choose one of these polarities, and I didn't want to, I guess. So I went into this insane rabbit hole for years instead. So anyway, you can see here, this is the basic concept, is that all the loops, all the individual sounds become these nodes in a network, with the root being the first sound, the first loop, and then its children are the overdubs. Alright, let me just show you a short improvisation so you can get an idea of what it looks like in action. now you can see these are all the sounds that I just recorded. This is the very first one, and you can click to pause them or stop them, increase the volume or lower the volume. You might notice that this one is twice as long as this, and this was the very first loop, and that's the one that sets the tempo for the whole thing. So the first loop, that tempo is used to calculate the BPM, and then all other loops are synced together, and they can be any multiple of this length. This is the source window, or tracks, as if you may. Here you choose the input, and this is just a simple, I'm just using one microphone right now. You can also add multiple ones and make a mix here of all the inputs into one. I'm just going to leave that for now. And this then goes into the looper input-output. Here is like a simple panning algorithm that I implemented, which just spreads the sounds around however you wish. And then there's like a basic effect path here. So I'm just using a delay and a reverb. And then there's a bunch of other effects that I have here. Reverb, a delay, reverb, echo. I love reverbs. Reverse delay, pitch shift, distortion, bit crush, flanger, phaser, and yeah. So, and then on the other side here is like basic XY controls, which are like randomly assigned to parameters. So you don't have to think about which one you want, you just try some shit out and then wooey. Down here is what I call the transport bar, the recording of all the output play pause of selected notes. Like you can select like this and play them, or just hover them and do the same. This stops all loops. This clears all of them, and then you can save them. Save each individual stem to disk. And then for every source you define here, it's gonna be its own cluster in the map and have its own loop trigger. So this is like the main loop trigger here. Start recording a loop for A, and these ones are retroactive loops. So that's another big thing here, is that after the first loop you don't have to trigger in. So you can just keep playing and then be like, oh, those last two bars sounded amazing, let me loop that, and then you press this. Because of that you don't have to always be like, oh, now I wish to make a loop. And yeah, you can just be in the music and then be like, oh, that was cool, oh, that was cool. Which is, for me, a very, very, very inspiring way to work, because I don't have to think about the technical stuff as I'm making it up. And then this bar here is kind of a selection mode, I call it. It either plays outwards or stops inwards, and this is based on this network here. So play outwards means it starts with one of these three, one of the root ones, and then goes outwards. So randomly play outwards, it's gonna choose one of these, and then the next, and then the last one. And once all of them are playing, it will go randomly to the outer edges. And stop playing inwards, it's the same, but just in reverse. And you can choose the selection mode here to start with the oldest one. So now it will play in the order that I recorded it. stop the oldest as well. And then we have the same but for the youngest one. And using this in practice and like changing between them, it means you can kind of create this many layers of time essentially, and just move through it and bring back old pieces, take away the new ones, and I don't know, I love working like this because I tend to improvise for a long time, usually like 40 minutes, and then after a while I have this enormous network of sounds, and using this youngest oldest way I can kind of alter it and bring back very old musical ideas and bring them back or stop the new things. And yeah, another thing I wanted to show you is that this is very portable as well. So you can see here it's running here on a Raspberry Pi mini computer, and then I can control it remotely on a tablet, which is what I was doing here. Another thing which is not really nearly done at this point, but I'm thinking of having 3 levels here which you can choose between. So we have this one which we're at right now, which shows all the sounds of the current composition like this, and then there will be a wave view which will show you the actual waveforms and give you more fine-grained tuning and selecting like snippets that you want to glitch or whatever. And then we have the global view, and well, there should be a lot more of them right now, but alright, I know why, whatever. This is like all the improvisations I do, like all the songs, they get put into its own network like this. So each one of this is like a song like this one. Well, the idea is to later have this create analysis on all the music that you ever put into the system, allowing you to kind of play with your own body of work. So I wanted to listen to what I'm doing in real time and then be like, oh, this sounds like what you played 5 years ago. And then it starts playing a loop from that improvisation 5 years ago. And you can kind of jam with yourself in the past. That's the idea, but that's gonna be a way later version, for sure. Yeah, that's kind of the basic idea that I have. And yeah, there's a lot to do, and I have plenty of ideas for this. A bit too many, I guess. But yeah, I just wanted to show this right now, because it's in a very good state right now, I feel. I just had my first live show on stage a couple of weeks ago using this, and it feels very stable. Well, very, I don't know, stable enough, and it's exciting. Alright. There will for sure be a lot more, and if you want to hear me play with it, I've been uploading music from this, like using this software for the past year or so. Alright, goodbye.